Hello, my Stoic friends, and welcome back to Stoic Talks. Have you ever bravely walked away from a relationship or situation only to find that your absence shakes the very foundation of the other person's world? It's a powerful and bewildering experience, like stepping out of a play and watching the remaining characters scramble without their key actor. When you make that pivotal decision to prioritize your own peace and growth, it often triggers a profound realization in those you leave behind. Suddenly, the person who overlooked your worth becomes haunted by your absence, grappling with the weight of what they've lost. This stark reversal highlights a raw truth about human connections. Sometimes, our silence speaks louder than our presence ever could. This dynamic is a stark dance of human emotions, where stepping back not only changes the choreography, but also alters the entire performance's intensity. Why does our absence resonate more deeply than our constant presence? In today's episode, we'll explore the psychological shifts that occur when you remove yourself from someone's life, how it forces them to confront what you truly meant to them, and why it often rekindles a recognition and appreciation that was dormant. Seneca's words echo through our theme today. Sometimes, even to live is an act of courage. Walking away isn't just a physical act, it's a courageous declaration of self-respect and an affirmation of your inherent worth. It reshapes the emotional landscapes of both parties, sparking a surge of respect and desire that was previously unacknowledged. Join me as we dive deep into how walking away can transform not only how others view you, but how you view yourself, fortifying your independence and attracting others to your newfound strength. Let's unravel these insights and discover the magnetic, transformative power of choosing yourself first. Let's dive in and feel the impact of our choices reverberate through our lives. I've got a challenge that will set the tone for what's about to unfold. If you're ready to step into your power and let your silence echo louder than any words, drop a comment below with the phrase, "Your absence speaks louder." This isn't just a statement. It's a declaration of your strength, your resolve, and your commitment to becoming unforgettable. It's time to show the world, and yourself, that you're not just stepping back. You're stepping up in a way that will make them feel your absence like never before. Let's see how many of you are ready to embrace this powerful shift and make your presence undeniable, even when you're not there. Before we dive in, let's consider a common scenario many of us face, yet often struggle to navigate. Imagine this. You've been in a relationship or friendship where your efforts seem one-sided. You're always the one making plans, reaching out, and trying to keep the connection alive. Despite your best efforts, the appreciation and effort aren't reciprocated. It feels like a solo dance in a duo performance. Now, you reach a point where you decide enough is enough. It's time to walk away. You take that bold step, distancing yourself, focusing on your own growth and peace. But here's where it gets interesting. After you walk away, after you break the pattern, the dynamics begin to change. The person who took your presence for granted starts to realize the void that your absence has created. They begin to reflect on what they've lost. Now ask yourself, why does this shift occur? Why does walking away change the way people perceive and value us? This sudden shift can be linked to a basic human psychology principle known as loss aversion. Essentially, we are programmed to fear loss more than we value gain. The moment you remove yourself from the equation, you're not just taking away your presence. You're activating their fear of loss, which, oddly enough, often weighs heavier than the joy your presence provided. This transformation is not just about them realizing your worth. It's about you rediscovering and reaffirming your own. By choosing your well-being and stepping away, you send a powerful message to yourself and to others. You are not dependent on anyone else's approval or presence for your happiness and self-worth. You define and hold the keys to your own value. Now, let's open up a bit. I want you to think about a time when you had to make a similar decision. What was the situation? How did you feel before you decided to walk away? And what changed afterward? Share your story in the comments below. Engaging with these personal experiences not only helps us reflect, but also strengthens our community here as we learn from each other's journeys. This reflection is crucial because it highlights a fundamental Stoic principle: the importance of focusing on what we can control. Marcus Aurelius taught us to be indifferent to that which makes no difference. By walking away, you're choosing to no longer let external forces dictate your peace and contentment. As we continue, keep these thoughts in mind. Reflect on your own experiences and how you've managed the art of walking away and reclaiming your power. Let's dig deeper into how these actions reshape our lives, relationships, and our very perceptions of self-worth and independence. 1. Understanding the initial shock. Folks, let's discuss our first point: understanding the initial shock. It's a dramatic and profound reaction that occurs when you decide to step back from someone's life. This is not just about the absence it creates, but about the reverberations that absence sets off in the other person's emotional and psychological landscape. Imagine this: one day, you're an everyday character in their life story, and then suddenly, you're not. It's like a key scene in a movie that's unexpectedly cut, leaving the audience, and in this case, the person you've left behind, reeling from the sudden jump in the script. The initial shock can be likened to a magician pulling a tablecloth from under a set table, leaving everything momentarily suspended in disbelief before it all comes crashing down. Why does this shock hit so hard? Because humans are creatures of habit. We thrive on consistency and predictability. When someone integral to our daily lives suddenly walks away, it disrupts our emotional equilibrium. As Seneca so aptly put it, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. This Stoic reflection reminds us that endings are not just losses but transitions, a viewpoint that might not immediately register amidst the initial shock, but is crucial for processing the change. This stage of shock is critical because it is often the first time individuals are forced to confront their dependency on external validation. They must face the mirror alone, perhaps realizing for the first time how much of their self-worth was propped up by another's presence. Here's where a bit of humor might lighten the mood. Think of it as suddenly realizing you've been singing a duet all along when you thought you were rocking a solo. As they navigate through this turmoil, the Stoics offer a valuable lesson in resilience. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful reminder encourages the left behind to take control of their reactions, to find strength in their ability to adapt and respond rather than in the situation itself. But what exactly happens during this shock? Initially, there's likely a flood of emotions: confusion, sadness, anger, and perhaps even relief mixed with guilt. These feelings are normal and expected. Imagine you're a character in a book, and the author suddenly starts writing in a genre you weren't prepared for. You'd be puzzled, right? That's the initial shock, disorientation in its purest form. During this phase, It's crucial for the individual to avoid making any rash decisions or drastic changes until the emotional dust has settled. It's like finding oneself in a thick fog. The best course of action is to stay put, breathe, and wait for clarity to return. Now, let's talk strategies. How does one manage this shock in a Stoic way? First, by practicing acceptance. This doesn't mean resignation, but rather acknowledging the reality of the situation without overlaying it with excess emotion or desperation. Just as a tree bends with the wind to avoid breaking, embracing flexibility and resilience in thoughts and actions can mitigate the impact of the shock. Then comes the power of reflection. This is a time for deep, sometimes difficult introspection. It's about asking tough questions. What role did I play in this scenario? What can I learn from this? This is not about assigning blame, but about learning and growing from the experience. Imagine you're piecing together a puzzle and you suddenly find that the pieces you were using no longer fit. It's frustrating, yes, but also an opportunity to search for new pieces that might offer a more satisfying picture. Finally, the motivational wrap-up. If you're the one left behind after someone walks away, remember, this is not the end of your story, but a twist in your plot. Your worth isn't diminished by someone's inability to see it. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, use this shock as fuel to ignite your transformation into someone stronger and more independent. So, drop a comment below. Share if you've ever experienced this kind of shock and how you moved forward. Did you find strength you didn't know you had? Let's build a community where our shared experiences bring us together and lift us up. In our next discussion, we'll explore how this initial shock evolves into a period of reflection and ultimately leads to a deeper understanding of oneself. Stick with me, and let's continue to unravel the profound effects of walking away, embracing the wisdom of the Stoics to guide us. Now that we've taken our first step into understanding the initial shock of walking away, I hope you're beginning to see the powerful changes it can bring about, not just in the lives of those we leave behind, but in our own paths as well. If you're finding value in our journey together today, please take a moment to hit that like button. It helps more than you know, and it tells me that you appreciate our deep dive into these complex emotional landscapes. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel. Here, we tackle these tough topics regularly, and we do it with the wisdom of Stoicism to guide us. Now, I invite you to stay with me as we venture deeper. There's a lot more to explore about the transformative effects of walking away, and I promise the insights we'll uncover together will be worth your while. This isn't just about a single change, but about a series of revelations that can reshape how you view relationships and personal growth. 2. Self-reflection triggered by loss. So folks, let's dive into our second point. Self-reflection triggered by loss. Once the initial shock begins to settle, the next natural phase for the person left behind is a deep, often intense period of self-reflection. This is where the true work begins, and believe me, it's as if they've suddenly turned into philosophical detectives in their own life's mystery. Imagine this. You've just lost a piece of a puzzle you were diligently working on. At first, you might frantically search for it, but eventually, you sit back and start contemplating why that piece was so crucial. Could the picture be completed in a new way? This is what self-reflection looks like after a significant loss. It's questioning the whys and the hows of the missing pieces. During this time, the person might revisit memories, trying to pinpoint moments of joy, conflict, and disconnect. It's like rewatching a movie where they thought they knew the plot, But now they're looking for hidden meanings in every scene. They ask themselves, was I really happy? What did I compromise on? What can I do differently next time? This introspection is vital because it helps them to understand their personal values and needs better than they ever did when they were just part of a pair. Seneca offers us some wisdom here. As long as you live, keep learning how to live. Self-reflection triggered by loss turns this quote into a daily exercise. It's about learning from the past to build a better future. This learning isn't always comfortable. It's like realizing you've been wearing shoes that were too tight. The relief comes in understanding that you don't have to wear them anymore. Humor helps lighten the intensity of self-reflection. It's like looking at old photos of yourself in questionable fashion choices and thinking, what was I thinking? Laughing at our past errors can make the lessons they teach us a bit easier to swallow. This phase is crucial for emotional growth. It's a process that dusts off the corners of their self-awareness that maybe hadn't been touched in years. As they sift through the emotional residue, they start to clear a space for new, healthier attachments. It's akin to cleaning out your garage. It's a mess, it's overwhelming, but oh, the space you'll have once it's done. This cleanup allows them to approach future relationships with a clearer understanding of what they want and what they can give. And let's not forget the power of writing during this phase. Encouraging those who are reflecting to jot down their thoughts can help tremendously. It's like giving them a chalkboard to scribble on. They can always erase and rewrite as their understanding evolves. So I encourage you all, share in the comments below. Have you ever found yourself in a phase of intense self-reflection after a loss? What did you learn about yourself? Your shared stories are not just healing, they inspire and teach. As we wrap up this discussion on self-reflection triggered by loss, remember, every reflection, every realization, and every reassessment brings you closer to the person you are meant to be. It's not just about moving on, it's about moving forward with a clearer vision of your own needs and desires. Next, we'll explore how this newfound self-awareness impacts personal growth and independence. Stick with me as we continue to unpack the transformative effects of walking away. Realization of value. So folks, let's dive into our third point, realization of value. This is a critical turning point in the journey of the person you've left behind, where they begin to truly grasp what you brought to the table, often seen only once you're no longer there to set it. Imagine you've lost your favorite watch. It was always on your wrist, so much so that you almost forgot it was there, until it wasn't. Suddenly, every time you need to check the time, the absence is palpable, and the value of that watch becomes crystal clear. This is much like what happens in human relationships when someone walks away. The day-to-day interactions once taken for granted are missed, and the full weight of their absence is felt. This realization can hit like a delayed reaction. At first, there might be relief or defiance, an "I don't need them anyway" attitude. But as days turn into weeks, the contributions and qualities of the person who walked away become more evident. It's like suddenly finding every movie you watch is missing a key scene you loved but never really talked about. You start to recognize the stability, support, or happiness that person contributed to your life. A poignant Stoic quote from Epictetus fits well here. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This reflection helped shift focus from loss to appreciation, encouraging those left behind to recognize and be grateful for the time and experiences shared. rather than solely lamenting the loss. This phase of realization prompts a reassessment of what truly matters for the person left behind. It's a time to reflect on the importance of acknowledging and cherishing the people in their lives before they walk away. Here's where a dash of humor helps lighten the mood. Think of it as realizing you've been eating plain toast all your life and someone introduced you to jam. Once they take the jam away, every piece of toast is a reminder of what you're missing. As they navigate through this realization, the key is for them to use this newfound appreciation as a stepping stone to better their interactions with others in the future. It's a lesson in not only valuing what you have when you have it, but also understanding that the worth of people and relationships should not be taken for granted. Let's wrap this up with a motivational boost. If you've ever been on the receiving end of such a realization, use it as fuel for personal growth. Transform the pain of loss into a catalyst for appreciation and proactive engagement in your relationships. Cherish those around you, express gratitude openly, and never miss a chance to show love and respect. I encourage everyone here to share in the comments. Have you experienced a moment when you realized the value of someone after they were gone? How did it change your approach to your current relationships? In our next discussion, we'll look at how this realization can lead to emotional maturation and greater empathy, further enriching one's life and relationships. Stick with me, friends, as we continue to explore these transformative experiences together. Emotional maturation. So, folks, let's dive into our fourth point, emotional maturation. This is the stage where the person you walked away from starts turning the initial shock and ensuing turmoil into a journey of emotional growth and maturity. Imagine if emotional growth were like leveling up in a video game. At first, it's all unfamiliar terrain and sudden challenges, but as you progress, you gain new skills and insights that help you navigate better. That's what emotional maturation looks like after someone walks away. It's about transforming the raw, often chaotic energy of initial emotions into something more refined and sustainable. This period is often marked by a series of epiphanies. Perhaps the first and most striking is the realization that not only can they survive without you, but they can also thrive. It's like someone discovering they've been riding a tandem bike alone and finally deciding to switch to a solo cycle. It's initially daunting, but ultimately liberating. A relevant Stoic quote from Seneca might say it best: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This idea helps frame emotional maturation as a process of understanding and accepting what you have, rather than lamenting what you've lost. This maturation involves recognizing that emotional well-being doesn't hinge on someone else's presence, but on a wellspring of inner resilience and self-contentment. Now, how does one foster this emotional maturity? It starts with self-reflection, looking inward to understand your emotional triggers and learning how to manage them rather than letting them manage you. Imagine standing at the helm of a ship as a storm rages. Emotional maturation is learning how to steer through these waters without capsizing. It involves recognizing when you're just reacting to the waves instead of navigating through them. This stage also involves embracing a broader perspective. This means understanding that every relationship, including the one that ended, contributes to personal growth. Each interaction teaches something valuable, even if it's not apparent immediately. Like piecing together a mosaic, every shard of experience contributes to the overall picture of who they are becoming. Emotionally mature individuals start to see beyond the immediate pain of separation. They begin to appreciate the quiet that follows the storm, finding peace in solitude and learning to fill the silence with self-care and self-compassion rather than resentment and longing. So let's wrap up with a motivational boost. If you're in the throes of emotional maturation, or you know someone who is, remember this: the journey is as important as the destination. The growth you achieve through navigating your emotions is a powerful testament to your strength and adaptability. Drop a comment below and share your experiences with emotional maturation. How have you transformed challenges into opportunities for growth? Your stories are not just inspiring, they're a beacon for others navigating their own emotional landscapes. Next up, we'll explore how this newfound emotional maturity impacts relationships and personal growth moving forward. Stick with me, folks, as we continue to learn, grow, and support each other through these transformative experiences. Growth through adversity. So, folks, let us discuss our fifth point: growth through adversity. When we talk about walking away and the effects it has on the person left behind, it's crucial to understand how this challenging experience can lead to profound personal growth. Imagine you're a sapling, small and shielded under the canopy of a larger tree. One day that tree is suddenly uprooted. At first, it seems catastrophic, exposed to the harsh elements. You might feel vulnerable, but then something unexpected happens. With more room to stretch towards the sunlight, you begin to grow in ways you never could have if the larger tree had remained. This is what adversity offers: an unexpected opportunity to thrive that only arises when the comfort of the old is stripped away. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, aptly said, "Fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men." When someone walks away from you, consider it a fire test. Initially, it burns, leaving you raw and exposed. But just as gold is purified through flame, so too can your spirit be strengthened and refined through the trials of loss and change. Now think about the last time you faced a setback. Maybe someone walked away from you, leaving a void. It's easy to wallow in the shadows of abandonment, but the growth comes in stepping into the sunlight of self-reliance. Did you discover a new hobby? Did you find you were more resilient than you thought? Often, it's in these moments of adversity that we uncover the most honest parts of ourselves. The journey through adversity is not about denying the pain or the challenge. Instead, it's about embracing it as a part of your story. Like a comedian who turns their personal struggles into a stand-up routine that has everyone in stitches, you too can find ways to bring lightness to your situation. Humor can be a powerful salve for the wounds of loneliness and can transform the way you recount your story, not just to others, but to yourself. But how do we turn adversity into growth? First, by recognizing the value in every experience. Each difficulty carries a lesson, much like how every tough workout at the gym is building your muscles, even if it feels like torture at the moment. You might not see the gains right away, but they're accumulating, and one day, you'll look in the mirror and see a stronger, more capable you. And let's not forget about reflection. After the initial shock and pain have subsided, take a moment to reflect on what this adversity has taught you about yourself. What new skills have you learned? How have your priorities shifted? What do you now appreciate more? Reflection turns experience into insight, and insight into wisdom. So, to wrap up, if you've been left behind, know this: your path is now one of growth. The road might be rough, a bit lonely, maybe even scary at times, but it's yours, and it's lined with opportunities to become the best version of yourself. I'd love to hear about your experiences with growth through adversity. Drop a comment below and share your story. How did you transform a painful ending into a new beginning? Your stories are not just your own, they are a beacon for others navigating their storms. Next time, we'll explore how navigating these hardships not only strengthens our independence but also deepens our connections with those who are still by our sides. Stick with me, friends, as we continue to learn, grow, and face life's challenges together. 6. Increased empathy. So folks, let's dive into our 6th point, increased empathy. It's fascinating how walking away can unexpectedly enhance a person's capacity for empathy, helping them connect with others on a deeper level. Imagine this scenario. You've walked away from someone who perhaps never truly appreciated the symphony of effort you were conducting in your relationship. Now, left with the silence of your absence, they start tuning into their own emotions and those of the people around them. It's like someone who's been blasting loud music suddenly turns it off and starts hearing the gentle rain outside for the first time. It's enlightening. Walking away can serve as a mirror, reflecting not just what was lost, but also what can be gained in terms of emotional intelligence. When someone experiences the pain of separation, they start to recognize and understand this pain in others too. This shared vulnerability is the breeding ground for empathy. It's akin to learning a new language, the language of emotional pain, and suddenly finding out you can understand and converse with a whole new world of people. Stoic wisdom, particularly from the philosopher Marcus Aurelius, sheds light on this transformation. What injures the hive injures the bee. The Stoics remind us that we are not isolated beings, but part of a larger human hive. By walking away and initiating this period of emotional recalibration, you inadvertently teach the one left behind the value of this interconnectedness. As you reflect on your own experiences with empathy, consider how understanding the pain of loss has helped you grow in compassion. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How has walking away improved your ability to empathize with others? In closing, remember that every emotional challenge has the potential to expand your heart's capacity to love and understand others. Walking away isn't just about creating distance. It's about building bridges of empathy that can span previously unbridgeable gaps. Let's keep learning, growing, and understanding more deeply the silent language of empathy that binds us all. 7. Strengthening independence. So folks, let's explore our 7th point, strengthening independence. When someone walks away, the person left behind often discovers a newfound autonomy they might not have realized was possible or necessary before. Imagine being thrust into the wild with just a compass. Initially, the thought is terrifying, right? But as you navigate through the terrain, you learn not just to survive, but to thrive independently. This is similar to what happens when you're left behind. Suddenly, you're the sole decision-maker in your own life's journey, and that can be both daunting and exhilarating. Seneca famously said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." This Stoic wisdom is a beacon for anyone finding their feet in the suddenly solitary world post-departure. It's about embracing the difficulty as a catalyst for growth rather than a barrier to success. As you start doing things on your own, from the mundane, like fixing a leaky faucet, to the more complex, like planning your future, you build resilience and confidence. Each small victory is a step toward realizing that not only can you survive on your own, you can flourish. Here's a humorous way to look at it. You're now the captain of your ship, and while the waters might be uncharted, You're not just circling the island anymore. You're setting sail for new horizons, occasionally battling sea monsters of doubt and loneliness. But what's an adventure without a little thrill? So, I invite you to share in the comments. What's an independence milestone you've achieved that once seemed impossible? Your stories are not just inspiring. They show us all how the hardest times can lead to the greatest gains. In wrapping up, remember, every step you take on your own is a step toward not just independence, but empowerment. The journey might start with a departure, but it continues with discoveries that redefine what you are capable of achieving on your own. Stick with me as we keep exploring the transformative impacts of walking away, and remember, the path to independence is also the path to your true potential. 8. Realigning priorities. So folks, let's discuss our 8th point, realigning priorities. After the initial shock and the ensuing emotional whirlwind, something transformative begins to happen. The person you walked away from starts to look at their life with fresh eyes, reevaluating what's truly important. It's like they've been using a map that's suddenly missing a few roads. Now, they need to chart a new course. Imagine waking up one day and realizing you've been running on autopilot, filling your days with routines and commitments that no longer serve your highest good. It's a bit like deciding you've been having cereal every morning just out of habit, when what you really want is a stack of pancakes with the syrup and all the toppings. It's funny, but it's also a moment of clarity. This stage is about sorting through life's clutter. As the philosopher Seneca wisely put it, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. This Stoic wisdom underscores the importance of focusing on what adds real value to your life rather than simply accumulating more. More activities, more responsibilities, more stress. For the person left behind, this might mean scaling back on social obligations that feel more draining than enriching, or rethinking career goals that no longer align with their personal values. It's about identifying what truly matters and having the courage to make those things a priority. It's not just about having less, but about having more of what truly enriches your life. Now, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had a moment of clarity that led you to realign your priorities? How did it change your approach to your daily life? As we move forward, remember, realigning your priorities isn't about losing focus. It's about sharpening it, choosing to fill your life with activities and relationships that truly matter. Let's carry this thought with us as we navigate our paths, ensuring that every step we take is aligned with our deepest values and goals. Keep pushing forward, my friends. The best version of yourself is just around the corner. 9. Renewed sense of purpose. So folks, let's dive into our 9th point, renewed sense of purpose. Once the dust settles from the initial shock of being left behind, there's a transformative journey that leads to a powerful realization, a renewed sense of purpose. Imagine you've been playing a role that you thought was scripted just for you, only to find the script suddenly changes. It's like you've been a side character in someone else's narrative, and suddenly you're thrust into the lead role of your own story. At first, it's daunting, but then it becomes liberating. This new chapter often begins with a deep, deep introspection that can feel like redecorating a house you've lived in for years. You start moving furniture around, perhaps tossing out the old, and suddenly there's a fresh new space that resonates more truly with who you are. This is what finding a new sense of purpose can feel like. Rearranging your life's priorities to better suit the person you've become, rather than the person you were in the relationship. As I wisely said, it is not what we have that will make us a great nation. It is the way in which we use it. Similarly, it's not the relationships we hold, but how we grow from them that defines our true character. The end of a dependency can thus become the beginning of self-discovery, where you find what truly drives and fulfills you. And as you start to act upon this new purpose, it's like planting a garden where there once was just barren land. Each decision you make and each action you take plants a seed that will grow into a future shaped by your own desires and ambitions. So, I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever found a renewed sense of purpose after a major change or loss? What was that like for you? How did it reshape your approach to life? Let's keep these stories and experiences coming. They are not just narratives of survival, but of thriving. They remind us that every ending carves out the space for new and exciting beginnings. Let's move forward, not just to recover, but to discover new paths filled with passion and purpose. Keep walking boldly into your new roles, everyone, and let the world see just how much you shine on your own. 10. Closure and new beginnings. So, folks, let's discuss our 10th and final point: closure and new beginnings. This stage is about sealing the past and stepping boldly into the future. It's where the person you left behind finally comes to terms with the end of one chapter and the start of another, more hopeful one. Imagine this: you've been watching a long series and you know it has to end, but you're not ready until suddenly the finale makes perfect sense. That's the kind of closure we're talking about. It's about finding that episode that ties all the loose ends, making you ready to say goodbye and look forward to new adventures. Seneca once said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." This wisdom is particularly poignant here. The end of your presence in their life isn't just an ending. It's a necessary cessation that makes way for new growth. It's like clearing out old weeds in a garden so new flowers can bloom. The person left behind learns to appreciate their own company, discovers new strengths, and perhaps even finds new passions that were overshadowed by your presence. Now, humor helps us process change, so let's lighten the mood. Think of closure like finally getting rid of that old broken fridge that's been hoarding space in your kitchen. It's a bit sad to see it go. Nostalgia is powerful, but look at all this new space for a shiny upgrade. As we wrap up, remember that closure is not just about endings. It's about setting the stage for new beginnings. It's about the person you left behind, standing at the threshold of their new life, inspired by their journey and the lesson learned. So, drop a comment below if you found closure in your own experiences. How did you embrace your new beginning? Your stories and insights not only help others feel less alone, but also inspire them to seek their closures and new starts. Thanks for sticking with me through this series, my friends. Remember, every ending is the start of a new adventure. Let's keep walking forward, embracing every new chapter with courage and anticipation. Here's to new beginnings and the beautiful surprises they bring. Ready to embrace your own journey of closure and new beginnings? Hit that like button if you're ready to step into new adventures. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on navigating life's transitions with Stoic wisdom. Share your stories of closure and new beginnings in the comments below. We grow stronger as a community when we share our journeys. Here's to turning endings into exciting new starts.